Alright, who are we on? Election watch now. Next up we got fucking Skeletor.
Oh god, Pat McFadden. A regular presence on the morning broadcast round TV sofas.
And sofas in all the offices of the major intelligence services
I
in
don't
this
watch
country.
these TV shows, so I presume that's correct, but...
That's
what
mental
the
if
fuck
they're
are they
sending
doing?
him out.
Like, oh yeah, it's 7:30, I'm having a coffee before I head into work, just waking myself up, and want some nice unthreatening brief summary of the news. And there's this fucking dead cunt on my TV. Fucking...
He looks fucked, man. He has got an absolutely fucked face. He looks like one of those like mummies who their face is shrinking because they've been dead so long.
I think this guy's only really been on my radar for maybe 10 years or so, but he's looked identical to that whole time.
I would say he came on my radar when he got sacked by Jeremy Corbyn for saying he supported ISIS. Saying Corbyn did, not this wasn't during the Owen Smith campaign. He was like, I'm sick of people like Jeremy Corbyn making excuses. He didn't say Corbyn, but I'm sick of like certain political leaders making excuses for the people who did the fucking Paris attacks.
It's a thing that even John Rentoul had to issue a grovelling apology for to keep his job.
Yeah. What did he say again? Was it like Jeremy Corbyn's having a bloody good laugh right now?
Something ridiculous like that. It was to the point where the people who agreed with him weren't publicly defending him. And
heavy night on the Virgin.
A lot of centre-left people, their replies were indistinguishable to ours. We were just like, fuck off, you cunt.
Yeah, and then 2 years later, they'd have all been
this
like,
was
he
still
does love ISIS!
This was still when the general press... This was really early in Corbyn's leadership. So the general press line was, Jeremy Corbyn is a nice and principled man who's completely unsuitable for leader.
Yeah.
And Rentoul's going straight to that mainline 2019 shit of like, Jeremy Corbyn personally funds terrorism.
McFadden is only 58. He's younger than Starmer, younger than Corbyn. He's aged worse than fucking Gapes.
58 centuries, more like.
At least Gapes was always looked 58.
That's true, yeah. The problem with McFadden is he's always looked about 75.
Fucking cunt anyway.
Who wants to see him over breakfast? You know, he's got no energy, and he's just sort of mumbling like, no money for that, no money for that. Like, fuck off, man.
But he's just a war-crazed lunatic, like, coming down to his actual fucking beliefs.
Yeah. Most left-wing Midlands Labour MP.
He is a super neoliberal as well.
Like, crazy stuff. Like, he was like one of Progress's main guys. He was like Progress to the death when everyone else had moved on to all the successor orgs because Progress was too...
There was some quote about him, because he's been promoted to Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster and National Campaign Coordinator. Yeah, made up bullshit. Angela Rayner bullshit jobs. Yeah. But fucking... Before that, he was working with Reeves at the Treasury, and there was some quote, it was like about Pat McFadden, and again, it just made him sound like some demonic fucking monster. It was like, McFadden fucking pisses blood every time he hears there's going to be public spending.
I mean, believable. His health can't be good.
It's like any time McFadden suspects that the purse strings have been loosened, he fucking, his anus collapses. Anyway, yeah, so he's helping them get election ready, apparently.
Yeah, and in the other one that's on election watch is Ellie Reeves. And it's
fucking Nepo
like,
baby, fuck off.
All they have to say about her is like, oh, she's Rachel Reeves' sister.
Literally her only fucking qualification. Like, just fuck off.
I just remember in 2017 she was getting a fucking absurd amount of positive coverage from people who were like, Corbyn's candidates are all shit cunts and terrible, and you probably should be very wary about voting for any of these, apart from Ellie Reeves, who was wonderful. A future top job person based on nothing.
Did JLM endorse her?
She's Rachel Reeves, a bit younger with a less annoying voice. Still quite an annoying voice, but like,
oh my god, both terrible voices. Terrible fucking voices.
I think Rachel Reeves' voice actually annoys me more than Keir Starmer's.
It's so bad. It's just like it's just so like brutal and fucking unforgiving and just.
Starmer's is bad, but it's got like a goofy comedy character vibe that makes you want to take the piss out of him. Rachel Reeves is like an evil robot telling you get.
I will fucking kill you.
You're getting no rations this week because like, your productivity in the salt mines was 90% of what it should have been.
If they can't afford to feed their children, perhaps they should die and decrease the surplus population. Ha 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 ha! Because she does this thing where she like pretends to laugh like a human does.
Yeah.
She does it at random places. It's not
she was never ever charismatic or a good speaker, because you remember loads of Newsnight producers and that used to grumble whenever they'd have to have her on TV. But she wasn't as bad as this. She just seemed like a slightly boring political wonk type, same as probably 150 other MPs across various parties. But she seems to have got, I don't know if she's had like the worst media coaching in the world, because she didn't used to speak like this, and she didn't used to have this weird, like, what she's saying is, if anything, even more right-wing than the stuff she used to say. But she seems to be like trying to present it in a sort of breezy, friendly way, and she was just there like, I'm going to make your life worse, ha 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 ha.
Oh, did you read that Simon Hattenstone interview with her in The Guardian, where she was trying to be human the whole time, and it was so weird? It was like
the chess one.
They insisted that they go to some fucking factory where like her grandparents worked to do the interview, so that she could have like this working class backstory. It was like a fucking shoe factory. Should have got Bear to do the fucking profile, really, but no, Hattenstone went in there and he fucking murked her, basically.
Were her grandparents the fucking machinery? Because that would explain a lot.
Yeah, yeah, because she's not like, you know, fancy high-tech Bridget Phillipson. She's like fucking Industrial Revolution neoliberalism.
Construction. Fucking clockwork.
yeah, literally. She is a proper Victorian figure. Like, you can imagine her running the workhouse.
Yeah.
You can imagine her writing Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal in full seriousness.
Yeah, no compassion whatsoever. Like, you can imagine a lot of these Labour right bastards go home and they're dealing with their family and they're perfectly nice people around their family and friends, and they've just got this political professional compartment where they just cunts to everyone. But I can't even imagine that with Rachel Reeves. There's just nothing there.
Totally. Like, this is mental. I'll read a little bit of this piece that Hattenstone wrote early this year in July. A member of Rachel Reeves's team asks if I can meet the Shadow Chancellor in Kettering, Northamptonshire, because she wants to provide The Guardian with quote-unquote original colour. Lovely.
What? So Hattenstone hated her. You can tell from that.
Yeah.
Just pulling the curtain back on that stuff.
100%. Just setting the scene of, like, this is going to be fucking weird. Lovely. What does the original colour consist of, I ask? Well, Rachel's grandparents worked for a shoe factory in Kettering. They are the ones who made them not look like feet. Again, The Guardian just picked the complete wrong person to write this article.
So they worked for a shoe factory. Were they on the production lines? Were they managers?
They were the people who held the whip. They stood at the gates with a shotgun mowing down strikers. They were Pinkertons, but they were hired by the shoe company. In fact, Rachel's grandma's health was damaged by working with the glue used in laces. There is one caveat. Unfortunately, the factory her grandparents worked at doesn't do visits, but we can take you to a nearby factory. So actually, we're just going to a random shoe factory in like the fucking Kettering shoe district.
In the accompanying photos for this, please.
There is a second part to the original colour. Rachel's grandparents were Salvationists. Blimey, that sounds exciting, I say. What are those? They were in the Salvation Army, and as you probably know, Salvationists are very principled, caring people.
Oh my fucking God.
So Rachel must be as well. Her grandparents, by the way, we've had to go back 2 generations for this.
Yeah, implicitly her parents are like horrendous, abusive people. Because she's got nothing remotely positive to say, not just about class, but about them at all.
Hattenstone says, there is nothing the Labour Party at the moment loves more than proving its working class credentials, even if it means skipping a generation or 2. So, unfortunately, the fucking selfish striking workers prevent Rachel Reeves's glorious press opportunity in the Kettering shoe factory. Hattenstone suggests that they talk in London, where they both live, but Reeves's office is reluctant to lose the original colour, so they have to contrive this ridiculous false, here's just Rachel doing what she always does, hanging out in shoe factories that are similar to the ones where her grandparents may have worked, but are not that specific.
I was going to skip ahead to the chess bit. So, again, consciously dropping this into not really related questions to try and humanise her. But also, like, I was a really high achiever, I was a super big brain. At school, I'd constantly worry I wasn't going to get the grades I wanted, which were A's. Sure enough, she got 4 A's at A-level, double maths, economics and politics. What else did she do besides study? I was a geek. I played chess. I was the British Girls Under-14 champion. But there was another interview, I think shortly before this one, where she did the same. Like, I was brilliant at chess. I loved chess. I was fantastic at chess. And then it's like, so I played a couple of games with her, and after 3 goes, she finally beat me, or something like that. Like, it was clear that she'd either not played chess since she was 13 and was the British Under-14 champion, or that perhaps that was a very low standard of play.
She just fucking scrambled to find some kind of biographical detail. Like, all she fucking does is wake up and try and fucking further herself professionally. And it's like, oh shit, I guess I had this kind of hobby in my teens that probably her fucking parents forced her to do.
It's probably the last hobby she had that wasn't relentlessly focused on being high-achieving Oxford PPE person.
Exactly.
Whether that makes her a politician, a banker, a lobbyist, she's been all 3, but she would have been set on that sort of career in life probably around that time. So that was like her last vestiges of like, I am a real human being with something vaguely approaching an interest.
Yeah, so
like,
6 weeks.
She's really a cautionary tale about briefcasism, because she's a success story, as nearly all of them would consider it. She's in one of the top political jobs in the country. And
but what does it mean? But what's it mean to gain the world but lose your soul?
There's a complete void there, you know? Like,
yeah, absolutely. So they fucking reschedule this interview for 6 weeks after they're originally going to do it, because she doesn't want to do it in London because it doesn't make her look like she's enough of a human being. So she's doing that thing, you told that story about Gordon Brown going up to every worker and being like, hello, I'm Gordon Brown. I
support Wraith Rovers. Who do you support?
Exactly.
Hello, I'm Gordon Brown. I support Wraith Rovers. Who do you support?
Yeah, it says that she's just going around saying, hello, I'm Rachel, to every worker. She heads the procession, advises the chief executive of the British Footwear Association, a public affairs officer for the Salvation Army. So they're like, let's tie it in with them because we're fucking working them into the backstory. And the Labour leader for Northampton North all trail in her wake. This visit is being filmed for social media, so Reeves can show her real self to followers. Oh.
This sounds like a scene from The Thick of It.
Yeah. This is just like In the Thick of It. How many shoes are made in a day? She asks one worker. 800 to 1,000. Very good. Excellent. Well, really nice to meet you. Take care. It feels as safe and superficial as a royal visit. Reeves does not mention that she hopes to be the country's next chancellor. She does not ask them how they're going to vote, blah, blah, blah. Is that seen as, like, bad manners? Some of the exchanges come naturally. She's just being nice there, I think. Others less so. She asks one woman who joined recently if she has come here straight from college, and the woman gives her a look. Well, I'm 37, this woman confides in the writer. I've hardly come from college, have I? Jonathan Church is impressed by Reeves. Who's he? Oh, he's like the fucking shoe factory manager. Then they go to Salvation Army Church, just because the Salvation Army runs through her fucking veins, secondhand. The conversation is more relaxed. They have an ease about them that Reeves lacks.
This is just an evisceration. This is actually I hadn't read this whole thing. I've just seen some excerpts from it. But this is well
brutal. Worth it. This is well worth pausing the Shadow Cabinet guy.
100%. Well, we basically finished that anyway. Ali Reeves was the last name on it.
Oh, did we already do
we
last
started
category?
with the losers, didn't we?
Okay.
The Salvation Army Church.
Her father's cousin, Stuart, and his wife, Janet, walk in with family photos and tales of yore. Oh, hello, Reeves says, apparently surprised by the stage-managed entrance. So they're just like, hey, Rachel Reeves' relatives, can you come in with loads of family heirlooms and
bring loads of old family photos with Rachel Reeves in them, her parents, and pretend like you didn't expect her to be here.
Yeah. She's just like, Oh, hello. These people literally... I don't even know if she thinks that Simon Hattenston is thick enough to be taken in by that, or if she thinks that the stupid cunts
such a
who
nice,
read...
easy ride in these sort of things, particularly The Guardian as well.
Does she just think that people who read newspapers are that fucking thick?
I think
I
think she thinks Simon Hattenston, he writes for The Guardian like the Labour right, so they're just going to go along with it and write up a humanity and bravery and all this shit.
He wasn't happy. Oh, look, they're just talking about her dad was in a brass band. Oh, ha ha ha. He does look grumpy. Ah ha ha. She has a fabulously filthy laugh, apparently. Stuart and Reeves' father, who fucking cares? When Stuart got play the fucking first horn and Graham was only second.
Again, she keeps playing up like everyone in my family was super turbo competitive. That's not necessarily a good thing, you know?
No, that's awesome. What are you talking about?
Would stay in Kettering, blah, 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 blah. But okay, this is just boring shit. Again, there is nothing interesting about this fucking life when you actually just spell out what happened. She learned her values from her parents and grandparents. Her parents were primary school teachers. They remained teachers throughout. Yeah, teaching throughout. Oh, she says. My dad was a head teacher when I was growing up. Then he got a degree in education and started doing stuff for international schools, the School of the Americas, I assume. like curriculum development, lecturing at university, and school inspections. So a little bit more than just a primary teacher, it sounds like. Did her mother stay teaching? Towards the end of her career, she briefly became a head teacher.
No one starts their career as a head teacher. That's not how it works, is it? Like,
yeah.
Of course.
I love that. She briefly became a head teacher because she's like obviously aware that she comes across like the person in the world most raised by two head teachers. Reeves and her sister were as bright as they were ambitious. They loved learning.
Past tense on calling them bright.
Reeves says education politicized her. The lack of money for books and school building programs. I felt strongly that the government didn't care about schools and communities like mine, and I wanted to do something about it.
There wasn't even any money left over for her parents to skim off the budget for themselves.
Yeah.
It was that bad of the Tories.
Reeves pales at the mention of 92. Oh my goodness, yes, we must make sure this isn't a 92. Yeah.
Well, hang on, like the whole thing of the sort of late 80s through to the late 90s, you know, till Labour had got in and increased funding, is that education under the Tories, and I ran into some of this as well. It was the stereotype of classes out in cold porter cabins because there weren't quite enough school buildings for full capacity that were in good nick. And we're obviously seeing that in the last few weeks become relevant again because there's this fucking dodgy concrete in all the buildings that are having to shut or partially shut. And Labour and Reeves and everyone are coming out and being like, we won't commit to fixing that. There's no money. There's no money, you know. You just have to risk your children having a fucking ceiling come down and crushing their infant skulls.
In my
no
first
money
year...
for it. So obviously these things she's saying, oh, it strongly influenced me and my family. Like, no, they didn't. No,
this
they
is
didn't.
proper...
They were a minor inconvenience for your parents because they were head teachers.
This is proper social review core. In my first year at university, my college friends bought me a framed picture of Gordon Brown and put it on my desk.
Christ. So people studying PPE at Oxford thought she was a nerd.
And she cites fucking Bank of England's independence as his greatest achievement. That is fucking mad.
It's madness. Absolute
because
madness.
It gave stability and the minimum wage. Because it lifted people out of poverty.
Oh, the Bank of England independence gave stability. Yeah, good take that. Very good take.
Yeah. What happened in 2008? Chinese democracy came out. Yeah, dig out your soul. But I mean, that is just crazy because it just shows she's a pure ideologue for deregulation.
Yeah.
She proper comes from that 90s school. School of the Americas. No, she really thinks that Blair and Clinton fucking had it all sussed.
What's the biggest obstacle to victory? People trusting us with the public finances.
She says immediately.
Yeah. When we do focus groups with key voters, people who voted Labour in the past but have voted Conservative in the last couple of elections, if you ask what might stop you from voting for Labour is can you trust women with money? Like, we mentioned the thick of it before. They, in their first fucking series, which is like 20 years old now, had a whole episode about focus groups not having any integrity and the sort of ambiguity of like person was an actor, but does that mean they can't be in a focus group? But focus groups obviously are notoriously set up by the firms that run them, and it's mostly think tanks and stuff doing them.
Yeah, they're firms. They are organised crime.
They are essentially a formalised version of John Harris going on safari and speaking to as many ordinary people as he can find until he finds one or two that agree with his pre-written article.
Anyway, they don't just talk about Republic.
They even say they're talking about
the focus
people
groups
who
will make sure they have a certain amount of people that are very angry about fiscal responsibility in every focus group.
Anyway, they're not just angry at the Labour Party about fiscal responsibility. They go on about Starmer and Jimmy Savile as well.
Yeah, that's all I'm hearing on the Labour doorstep.
In my focus groups, they talk about that loads.
Yeah.
My focus groups are great. They're all just making jokes about Raphael Bear and his heart attacks.
Yeah.
We've got the best focus groups.
As our focus groups go, so goes the public.
I got binders.
Labour ignore us at your peril.
Exactly. So there's some. Yeah, he just lays out some facts there about how public services are in the right state, and then he starts to bring up the lies of Sir Keir Starmer, the 10 pledges. When standing for the Labour leadership, he was going to increase income tax for top 5% of earners, and he U-turned on almost all his pledges, including this one. Has there ever been a better time to increase income tax for the wealthiest? Look, Reeves says.
I love the fact that he leaves in that she starts every political answer with either look or, well, look.
Yeah, fucking hell, I've just noticed that as well, because, you could just cut that out, but it's so important to her speech, man. Look, I'm going to lay this out to you. Common sense. Sound money economics. We already do have the highest tax burden in 70 years, wherever you are in income distribution. Fucking hell.
It's not really true, is it? Because the sort of top earners were taxed 90% at the start of that 70-year period.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, they cut it off exactly after that.
90% over a high threshold, but
your
tax burden was fucking higher if you're super rich.
Our focus is more on growing the economy and closing the tax loopholes. Again, the tax loopholes thing, that was just fucking what Ed Miliband said. It was just oh yeah, we're going to clamp down on tax evasion, but not tax avoidance, that's fine. But we're going to just make sure that, the people doing really dodgy shit don't get away with it.
They're just going to persecute people making a few quid out of an OnlyFans or something like that. Or a Patreon.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to come after our pittance somehow.
Hard-working
before they
businesses.
come for, actual fucking CEOs.
Yeah, no, they don't care. The Labour Party are very anti-business, hard-working small businesses like us.
Yeah.
But yeah, she says our focus is more on growing the economy as well. So again, just trickle-down fucking bullshit. And he says, is that because you don't want to upset big business? And she says, we do want to build a broad coalition, but our main focus is what we can do to grow the economy. Again, just repeat the rote fucking line. Just economic growth equals everything gets better.
The line that all but the most deranged business leaders would want her to. Everyone that isn't the fucking Pimlico Plumbers guy will be like, yeah, keep saying that.
Exactly, and then he brings up the Jamie Driscoll thing. Last month, the North of Tyne Mayor Jamie Driscoll was barred from being the party's candidate to contest the new and much bigger North East mayoralty after appearing on stage with the left-wing film director Ken Loach. Loach was expelled from Labour in 2021 for appearing on a Label Against the Witch Hunt platform way before that organisation was proscribed by the party. The group was formed to campaign against what was seen as politically motivated allegations of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. Quite remarkable to hear that all stated clearly in The Guardian. This doesn't sound like a broad coalition, does it? Look, Keir's number one thing when he became leader was he was going to tear out anti-Semitism at the roots, and that means there is a zero-tolerance approach. Just the same old fucking lines. It's criticise anything we do, it's anti-Semitism. Fuck off.
But again, Hanston's having none of it.
Yeah.
I tell her I'm Jewish and I agree with a zero-tolerance approach to anti-Semitism, but the party is so gung-ho that it is now labelling people anti-Semitic who simply aren't, and there is a danger of destroying lives in the process.
Well, look, I'm not on the bodies that make those decisions. The fucking great anti-Semitism arbiters of the Labour Party. Which, as I understand it, I think what she means is just like Luke Akehurst and a couple of his mates in a back room deciding who gets to be a Labour member and who doesn't. So I don't know the details of that case. But it is so important that we are seen to, and we do, tackle anti-Semitism. Ken Loach, you might like his films, but his views... ... Well, certainly they are not ones I share. She fucking doesn't have anything. She doesn't have a fucking argument against the man. What views? His views.
That doesn't make him anti-Semitic, says Simon Hattenstone.
You don't think Ken Loach is anti-Semitic? Okay, well I think we might have to agree to differ. Party didn't say he was anti-Semitic, it just said that he associated with expelled members. Why does she think he is anti-Semitic? Look, I'm not on the bodies that make these decisions, but I think it's right we have a zero-tolerance approach. She's just turned into a Dalek in my mind at this point. But you can't make such an accusation without supporting it, I say. Well, look, I'm not on the body who makes these decisions, she repeats yet again. Loach later
These
tells
strikes
me...
are wrong while negotiations are still ongoing.
Yeah, exactly. Loach later tells me there was no due process in his expulsion. He was just told he was unfit to be a party member. Anti-Semitism wasn't mentioned. Of course.
They're going to expel Simon Hattenstone from the Labour Party because he's run Ken Loach and spoke to him.
Raging anti-Semite. Raphael opened his copy of The Guardian that day and was like...
I've read this article and you're showing dangerous signs of being a left-wing Jewish person. Out you go, son.
Yeah. You fucking... It's over. Oh yeah, then he starts pressing... We can't read all of this, but he starts pressing her on nationalisation. Then he brings up the fact that Wes Streeting said that Labour leaders move to the left to win the membership and then dart to the right to win over the country. She laughed and said... Well, Keir asked me when he appointed me Shadow Chancellor how much it would cost to nationalise all these different companies. Fucking idiot. He doesn't fucking know a thing about actual fucking policy. I said it would cost tens of billions of pounds. He asked me what impact that would have on bills. I said none. You'd still be buying gas and electricity on global markets.
Okay,
he said,
what are the big energy companies making in profits this year? Where's that profit come from if they're not overcharging anyone?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They are making money and raising the bills. It's like, fuck off. Fuck this fucking parasitic system, man. He said, what about if we tax them more? I said, yeah, we could raise a lot of money and use it to help people pay their bills. Keir is a pragmatic politician who is driven by what's the best thing we can do for ordinary working people who are paying these higher bills. It's just because Keir Starmer cares about the poor too much, basically, that he doesn't want everybody in the country to own public services that everyone uses.
Yeah, absolutely nothing to do with Starmer and Labour's close links with Centrica.
Oh my god, I wanted to get into some of all the proper corruption, all the corporate fucks, buying Labour policy changes by giving some fucking shadow minister free Glastonbury tickets. I don't think we've got time if we want to cover the best band in history, but we should get into that on a future date because that shit, it's a fucking outrage, it is fucking corruption. It should be a fucking scandal.
Yeah. I worked in an incredibly junior role when I worked for British Gas, which is Centrica. And even then, in that capacity, I have lots of funny stories about the sheer ineptitude and idiocy, basically, of their board. Just cartoonishly out of touch people, but very well rewarded for it.
Just one more bit from a Rachel Reeves interview. A lobby journalist who knows Reeves well told me that although she can appear wooden and humourless in public life, she has a good line in dirty jokes when she is down the pub.
Fuck off.
I mention it and she looks panic-stricken. I don't think so. Yeah, she's just you go to a pub with fucking Rachel Reeves, she's just like Nick Mullins. She's just there she's doing a Chinese voice. She's fucking... It's like calling people gay. Anyway, I don't think so, she yelps. What's her favourite joke, dirty or otherwise? This is a moment when I call my children to help me out, she says. Imagine you get the call, how fucking terrified her kids must be of this fucking... Literally, there are people who are head teachers. without technically being a head teacher. It must just be like, oh my god, what is she ringing about now? What have I done? Fuck. And she's just like, hello, child! Can you tell me a good joke?
Yeah, it's mad. She's like, I'll have to come back to you on that one. In my speeches, sometimes I say, can I have something to lighten them? So what she's saying is, yeah, I've got a great sense of humour. Sometimes I ask my speechwriters to put a joke in my speech.
Yeah.
Like, what the
This joke is dope as well. If Jeff Bezos can afford to fly to space, he can afford to pay his taxes down here on planet Earth. Wait for the punchline, big fucking drum roll. And under Labour, he will.
Wow. And notice that I had a good little joke in my first conference speak. Not I wrote a good conference. This is the shit that her fucking staffers are going out with for her. And she's like, ah ha ha, very funny.
And then she's like, he doesn't laugh, and she's like,
work as a joke.
A sort of joke? A sort of joke, Rachel. Alright, yeah, so that's just a good article. Well done to Simon Hattenston. You nailed her. So yeah, basically, Starmer's cabinet includes something like 5 or 6 Blair-era special advisors, as McTurnan gleefully pointed out on Twitter, and I believe on television. I think they brought him out for a ceremonial victory lap about how Blairite the shadow cabinet was.
I am the Antichrist. I am another case. I know what I want, I know how to get it. I want to destroy the passerby, 'cause I want to be anarchy. Anarchy for the youth.
Should we talk rock and roll again?
Yes.
Yeah.
The big music development, the weekend. Where were you when rock and roll changed forever?
Where were you when we were getting high on...
fuck off.